Today I'd like to talk about research on spirituality and recovery from addiction. In fact, I've been reviewing a book here, Recent Developments in Alcoholism. It's in a series, and this particular volume addresses research on Alcoholics Anonymous and particularly spirituality in addiction recovery. The book is edited by Mark Galanter. I recommend it to you. It's available through our library. So I want to summarize just two current research articles. Both of these are from 2011, and both of them are published on the National Institute of Health website. I'll give you the chief author as well as the title of the article so that you can look these up through our library website. Both articles specifically explored research that's been conducted with individuals with the diagnosis of alcohol abuse and or dependence. The first article is by the chief author is Kelly, and the title of the article is simply Spirituality in Recovery. This research was based on findings at Harvard University, the medical school, as well as the Center for Addiction Medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital. It's one of these studies that's a definitive study for sure. And what they were looking at was attendance at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and how that affected the course of recovery. What they discovered in their study was that attendance at these meetings, the 12-step meetings, does increase spiritual practices, and more importantly than that, the spiritual practices, which I'll come back to, spiritual practices are highly correlated with enhanced recovery from an alcohol addiction. By spiritual practices, they were referring to prayer, meditation, inspirational readings. All of these behaviors increased as a function of individuals in recovery attending 12-step meetings like Alcoholics Anonymous. Not only does AA meeting attendance increase spirituality, hence successful recovery, such as I just mentioned, but it also adds several other curative factors. It aids in creating new, healthier social support systems. It increases skills in coping, for example, dealing with triggers in the recovering addict's life. It provides increased incentive and accountability for continuing sobriety. The social group norms in AA really support abstinence, and you've got a kind of group social pressure in a positive sense. They also found that individuals that attend AA meetings have decreased depressed mood. How this relates is some individuals who are struggling with addiction actually are addicted to self-medicate to relieve symptoms of depression. And so it's an interesting finding that AA attendance can actually decrease depression, while at the same time enhancing an overall sense of psychological wellness. Found it interesting in this article that the authors looked at how the increased utilization of spiritual resources is likely to lead to changes all the way down to the neurobiological level. In that spirit, I'd like to refer you to the work of interpersonal neurobiologist Daniel Siegel. We have his books available on our website and in our library. In particular, the book The Mindful Brain is really looking at what's going on at a neuropsychological level, a neurobiological level, in terms of involvement in spiritual practices like meditation. Okay, so that's the first article by Kelly et al. The second article is the lead author is Robinson. The title of this article, also available on the National Institute of Health website. The second article is entitled Changes in Spirituality Predicts Drinking Outcomes in Recovering Alcoholics. This research was done at the University of Michigan Addiction Research Center. It's highly complementary to the earlier research I mentioned by Kelly. Robinson found that positive changes in spiritual values and practices serve as strong predictors of successful sobriety. And in fact, the strongest predictors are increases in both personal, private spiritual practices, again, meditation and prayer, and then interestingly, another feature, which is what the authors refer to as self-forgiveness. As I read their analysis of this component of the treatment, namely self-forgiveness, it reminds me of some other reading and research I've done that's come up in the what's referred to as the Buddhist recovery movement. I refer you here to BuddhistRecovery.org. You can go to that site online to find out more information, where there's a central focus on the role of recovery, the role of forgiveness, self-forgiveness, in recovery from addiction. In fact, they actually use a form of mindfulness meditation which operates under the title of forgiveness practice. The idea being here that by practicing this, there can be an active integration of forgiving of oneself for wrongs done, let's say under the influence of substance, as well as amends to be made to others for wrongs done to them. And all of this is integrated directly into the heart of the spiritual practice, namely meditation. So both of these studies then, in summary, look at one of the central healing mechanisms of change and transformation in the life of the recovering addict to be spirituality. This is something, by the way, which the 12-Step program has been encouraging for the last near century of its mission and outreach too. Thank you.